Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself and your role and why we've chosen you to be here today on the Connect Studios podcast.
I am a qualified counsellor, both children and adult counsellor and training facilitator. 21 years now I've been doing that job, and I have a diverse range of experience working in different settings. I work in primary. I've worked in primary with age 3 to 11-year-olds. I've worked in secondary, mainstream, and I've worked for charity over on the Wirral called Web Merseyside. And there I've worked with a diverse range of people with complex mental health problems, ranging from suicide ideation to assault to depression, whole range of different issues and difficulties.
Amazing. So do you work with children and adults, is that correct?
Yeah, I work with children from around age 7 upwards and adults.
And you also work with men, a men's group. Can you tell me a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, for about 5 or 6 years, majority of my work was focused on working and supporting men with complex mental health who'd had a difficult time throughout life. Many had been in the care system. Many had had a lot of adverse childhood experiences which had impacted on their mental health and their adult life as well. So I was extremely passionate about that work and still am. And from that work, again, I decided to focus a little bit more on having an impact, kind of doing preventative work.
Yeah.
Opposed to working to help people after they'd had a lot of these events happen in their life that had affected them massively.
Yeah.
So I thought if I can work, doing more preventative work, getting into work with children more, then that was just something that I felt a bit more passionate about at the time.
Yeah, because children are our future, aren't they? So I think the most important part as we can play as adults is to help them lead an empowered life, which obviously you come into, don't you, to help them with their struggles and challenges.
Yeah. And I think when I became a counsellor, I had done counselling straight away. I set up my own practice, and I also done my teaching qualification and was teaching counselling courses. And I quickly realised that we actually need to get in and do work a lot earlier.
Yeah, I agree with that, because the children, as I said before, are our future, and as adults we've got to lead by example and help them as much as we can, and I feel like that's why we've got you in to Connect Studios to support the parents, because I think the biggest change to help children is to help the parents.
Definitely. I totally agree, Kelly. And I think that was one of the conversations that we've had. I think the best gift you can give to a child is be a really good role model and invest in yourself and look how you can support yourself and also access support as a parent who might be struggling with different issues.
Yeah, and as we always say, it's okay to accept help. It doesn't make you inadequate to accept help, does it? Or feel like you're failing, because a lot of parents feel like they're failing if they have to ask for help or reach out for help.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge barrier for people, for parents, accessing support and asking for help, is that they feel like they're a failure. And they're absolutely not. I truly believe that parents are doing the best they can at that time with the knowledge and the skills that they have then.
Yeah.
But knowing that they can access support and gain new knowledge to equip them.
Yeah.
And feel more empowered as a parent.
Yeah, no, definitely. Amazing. And just for parents who are listening to this, what inspired you to get into this line of work? Because I'd love to know that. Love to know that answer, because you do so many amazing things for so many people. And I think that would be amazing to get an insight of how you got into this line of work.
I think initially I didn't want to be a counsellor. That was something that I'd never set out to do, to become a counsellor. I had my own experiences in life growing up, experiences that had impacted on my confidence, my self-esteem, how I perceived myself, my self-worth, and I done different jobs, different courses, and just never felt successful. And like I'd never achieved what I wanted to achieve when I'd done these courses at night school. And I think I always had this in my head from my education, average, and people like me can't achieve certain things. And just by chance, I seen this little advert and it just spoke to me, and the colours, it was the colours that attracted me to look. And it said, do you appear confident on the outside, but that's not how you feel on the inside?
I can relate to that as well, yeah.
And I went, wow, that's me. It was just describing me, because people did perceive me as confident. That was what I gave off, but that's not how I felt on the inside. My self-esteem certainly was very, very low. And I thought, I'm going to do this. It was a little 12-week course, basic counselling and communication skills course. And that's where my journey began.
Amazing.
I just loved it and went on to do the next level, got to know myself, got to work on myself, got to understand myself, my thoughts, feelings, why I behaved the way I did. And I just began to feel empowered.
Amazing. So the way you've developed your own personal journey, you're now helping people the way you helped yourself to find that inner power and that inner confidence.
Yeah, I believe that people have the tools within themselves, the resources within themselves to implement change in their life, to have a better lived experience, to deal with problems, to deal with events that life may bring to them. I absolutely believe that. And so for me, it's about helping people to help themselves. Yeah. Because that's been my journey and still is my journey. It's a life's work. Yeah. It's ongoing.
Because you agree with me, we had a conversation. We've had many conversations, but you can't help someone change. Do you agree with that? Like, you can't change them.
Can't do the work for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't change people.
No.
We can't do the work for people, but we can support them and walk alongside them and encourage them to do the work on themselves.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of courage to embark on a journey of personal growth and development. Yeah. I would say it's the second hardest job in the world after being a parent. Being a parent, I believe, is the hardest job in the world.
Yeah,
and then working on yourself is the second hardest job.
Which I've done. And it's ongoing. You're never fully there. There's always a lesson to learn, isn't there? About yourself and others as well. Yeah. We're only human if you mess up.
Yeah.
It's okay to make mistakes every now and then, isn't it?
Of course it is.
Just try not to make the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much, Paula.
So, if there are any parents who are watching or listening to this podcast who may be struggling to understand their children's needs, or if it is new to them and they're not maybe aware of what needs their children are showing to them, what advice would you give to these parents?
I would tell them to be gentle with themselves, remind themselves that they are doing the best they can with what they know at this time. But encourage them to seek support, to equip them to deal with whatever difficulties they are experiencing with their child. And there's no shame in asking for support.
Absolutely.
Being a parent doesn't come with a manual. And even if it did, who's to say that all the answers would be in it? And every child is unique and individual, and what might present in one child's behaviour with a certain diagnosis may not in another.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree with that. And, you know, it's clear myself working in education and having the dance studio as well. every child is different. And can you explain how children with SEN, how it can affect their learning in school, and their behaviour and any social interactions with other children or with adults in a school environment?
It can affect their confidence, their self-esteem, the difficulty that children have fitting in to education system that for me is archaic. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so there are many children, young people who are trying to fit in and get through education when it's not working for them. And that can be really distressing, really overwhelming, and really disempowering for them.
No, absolutely. I suppose that comes to my next question, for parents and, you know, to understand their children when they're coming home from school and maybe not always understanding what the children are saying because they don't see it happening in school. So maybe their behaviours might change at home. How would you say for parents to communicate with the school? What is the best thing for parents to do to communicate with the school to build that relationship with them?
I would suggest being persistent in requesting meetings. I know that school staff are busy, but your child's important. And the more you can communicate and have regular meetings with school staff who are a big part of your child's life, they're going into school every day, then that can only benefit the child and possibly the parent and the teacher. So don't be afraid to ask for meetings and be persistent and look at what's going well at home, what strategies or what are you implementing at home that is working, what is school implementing that's working, and what isn't working, and look at coming up with something else that might work to support your child.
Yeah.
And also, if your child needs an EHCP plan, then ensure that they have it. Because I know there's a lot of demand on schools for doing EHCP plans, but it's a legal document that if your child has additional needs, is entitled to. And that will stay with them until they're 25. So whether they go on to college, go on to university, they have the right to an education that supports them.
Absolutely.
And an EHCP plan can do that.
And I totally agree. I think it is banging on those doors. And if those parents aren't feeling heard or not being answered to, they just need to, like you say, keep at it, don't they? And keep communicating with that school.
Yeah. And that persistence can be quite draining and take a lot of energy. And so, again, it's looking at what parents can do to support themselves or what can they access to support them in continuing to, you know, get what their child is entitled to and deserves.
Absolutely, yeah. And thank you so much. So I've got a quick question, and it's more specific to ADHD. So for anyone listening or who's watching this podcast, and they might not understand what ADHD is, can you explain to anyone watching what is ADHD?
ADHD is a disorder of the brain. It's wired differently, and the person, child, young person, adult who has ADHD struggles to concentrate. They may fidget, they may become restless, and environment and stress can intensify that and increase the ADHD behaviour. And so, again, I see this a lot in education, young people really struggling, and just given something as simple as a fidget toy or something tactile that they can hold can help them in that setting, or just being able to have a little break to stand up, move round. That's what ADHD is. It's difficulty concentrating, difficulty keeping still. And I think, imagine how difficult that is for a child in some of the education settings where they're expected to be still, listen, make eye contact, concentrate. I just can feel myself getting stressed thinking about it. So,
and it is sad in the sense of there is still that taboo out there. For instance, with ADHD, and it's a behavioural thing, the child's being naughty. And when I hear that, it really does sadden me, because that person doesn't necessarily understand what ADHD is then, if they're saying that. And it does frustrate me as an adult, but also as a teacher. You know, it can be upsetting, and I just feel the needs of those children may not be being met. And it's not that they're being naughty kids. They just need that a little bit more support, or different techniques and different methods to help those children.
Definitely. And again, it's without blaming
of course,
staff or people, teachers, whoever works in education. It's about investing in upskilling them, giving them the knowledge, giving them the tools to support these children. But unfortunately, it's not happening. And so we're hearing more and more challenging behaviour. I see that as distressed behaviour. A lot of behaviour that is labelled as challenging is very often because that child or young person is distressed.
No, perfect. Thank you so much, Paula. So I've got one last question, and this question's come from other parents who we've been asking, and they've mentioned, how can I help my partner to understand and get them to join them on the journey with them if their child is maybe has ADHD or autism, but potentially that partner is in denial and they don't believe, that potentially the child could have autism or ADHD. Is there anything you could say to those listeners or people watching this to support them and trying to show their other halves that how can we get them on board? Is there anything that you could maybe give a little bit of advice to those parents?
If a person's in denial, they're in denial. And so I would suggest communicating to that partner how you experience them. I'm experiencing you as in denial, and this is really difficult for me too. And tell them how you feel and how you're struggling with their denial. And just owning your feelings and where you are with the situation as well. Because it can be a very isolating and lonely journey. And so, having the courage to say, this is where I'm up to with it. This is how I'm feeling. But saying how you experience your partner. And people are in denial because they don't want to believe that their child has a condition or something that prevents them from living what we perceive as a normal life. So I understand that it's difficult. So communication is absolutely key in order to come together and to look how you can support each other.
And if parents are struggling to get that support from their other half or their partner, would you agree with myself, there are groups out there like Connect Wellbeing to go and speak to other parents or anyone who has an insight into it?
Definitely. Group work is so powerful, and we've seen that at Connect Studios. Just the 2 sessions that I've been fortunate enough to deliver has been so powerful. And one of the biggest things that parents have taken away is knowing that they're not alone, that there are other parents struggling, and that struggle doesn't have to be as much of a struggle if they seek some support. And it's okay to say, I am struggling. You're not a failure. life can be tough. Parenting can be tough. And so if you want to make it a less of a tough or a less of a struggle, then find the courage and ask for help, because parents deserve that help and support too. And I believe that the biggest gift we can give to a child is to role model, and to not pretend that we're okay if we're not, to let them see us as human beings as well. And because there are a lot of expectations on parents from everyone. And so, yeah, I think just remember you're only human, and it's okay to ask for support.
There's always someone listening, and we'll listen to you.
Yeah. So, Michael, as well as being a partner in Connect Studios, you're also a high school teacher. What changes have you seen since COVID going back into education?
So I taught prior to COVID for many years, and I took a 4 or 5 year break from teaching in mainstream education. Going back about 18 months ago, I saw a huge change. But what I did see is mainstream education settings are struggling. And it's not because they don't want to help and support. Of course they want to help and support children. But I think since lockdown, it's heightened more. It's spoken a lot more. And because children were home, I think parents saw it more as well.
Yeah.
So, these children, rightly so, are being diagnosed with ADHD or autism, and they need their needs met.
Yeah.
And schools are doing a fantastic job. I won't sit here and say they're not. They're trying their best, and they're incredible what they're putting in place in these schools. But I do understand the need of it is more and more, and I do think maybe we need some more specialised schools out there. There's, less of that, and I do think the workload and the work balance for teachers is difficult, and they may not know the approaches always, although training might be put on for teachers.
Yeah.
It's not always a part of their teacher training and development. If they trained 20 years ago as a teacher, that wasn't a thing. It wasn't spoken about. So I do think schools are doing fantastic, and they are great, and the support they give families and the children is wonderful. But I don't think we are there yet in mainstream education. I think there's a long way to go. But they're on the journey.
Yeah.
And I just think they still need to keep going with it and continue to support these wonderful children who need that support.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there needs to be a lot of change. There has been some change, but we've got a long way to go.
Yeah.
And I think what you just said then about the increase in diagnosis, I think it's due to awareness, more awareness.
Yeah.
Because a long time before COVID, a lot of these children were being labelled as naughty, difficult, challenging, and now they are being seen as, oh yeah, okay, they could possibly have a diagnosis of ADHD or ASD. And as you said, staff have trained 20 years ago, so they're not trained though to deal with a lot of the difficulties the children are experiencing.
And I also think with that, totally agree. And education is not built. Mainstream education isn't built for children with, ADHD or autism and any, needs that they have. And sometimes I think in school environments, not always, but there is that thing of sit, listen.
Yeah.
This is the ways we do things in school, but that's not for everybody. And I think it's trying to adapt education to make it more broader for everyone's needs. Inclusive,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Paula, these questions are actually from our parents at the dance school.
Yeah.
So thought what would be a really good idea, I asked the 309 parents that we've got at Connect Studios, if you had an hour with Paula, what question would you ask Paula to support your child or to support you and helping you as a parent? So I got so many questions back, but I've picked the top 5, and hopefully the intention is to obviously help parents to support their children. So the first question is, how do I stop myself getting sucked into my child's moods? For example, he's happy, then he's sad, then he's angry, then he's excited, then he's crying, then he's laughing, and then I'm struggling to part myself from it, and I feel like I'm going through this wave of 100 emotions a day with him, and it's totally draining me.
Okay, so I would encourage that parent to, first of all, not take it personally.
Yeah.
These feelings and the behaviours that are coming with those feelings, that's how he's languaging his emotions. He hasn't got words for his emotions, so it's coming out in behaviour. And the most important thing when a child is going through this wave of emotions, I imagine they're also feeling really overwhelmed, as that parent is. So in that child needs a safe adult. So that parent, I will be encouraging them to try and stay grounded. Try and focus on something that helps them stay grounded and not buy into the emotions of their child. And it is difficult. It's going to take time and practice. Remove yourself if you feel that you are becoming so overwhelmed. Just remove yourself for a little bit. Take some deep breaths.
Yeah, I agree. Breathing and just stop, pause and breathe.
Breathing is so important, but we forget how important it is because
The
we
power
just
of
take
breath.
it so much for granted. So
Yeah.
as long as you can see your child and they're not in danger, they're not at risk of hurting themselves, just take yourself out the room
Yeah.
for a few minutes. Take some deep breaths and ground yourself, because your child needs you to be that safe, responsible adult. And what can happen is we can really buy into those feelings. So we become sad, we become
You become what the
angry,
child
we
is
become,
experiencing.
we mirror their behaviour and those emotions, because we're feeling them too. And so I remember a guy, Rob Long, I went on a conference, and he said, he was talking about how we can buy into children's emotions, and especially when they become dysregulated. And so he said, fight fire with water. So it's finding strategies like what we've just said, breathing, taking yourself out the room, but learning not to take it personally as well.
Fire on fire doesn't work.
No.
Just blows it up even more.
If you keep putting fire on fire, it's
It
not
goes
going to go
bigger.
out. Yeah.
It's so simple, but it's so hard to implement at times. I can relate to this because I'm not a parent, but obviously I've got a lot of students at Connect Studios who do suffer with handling their emotions. A lot of the time I hold the hands and say, look at me, you're safe here.
Yeah.
I understand you. It's okay. Breathe with me.
Yeah.
They breathe with me. I get them to talk through the colours of the rainbow to distract their intrusive, fearful thoughts.
And they're really good strategies. Really, really good strategies.
It's hard as a parent if you're dealing with us 24 hours a day, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which I'm not one, so...
And this is why I believe parents need opportunity to work on themselves.
Yeah.
And support themselves, because they're trying to deal with a whole range of things as a parent, and they're not probably looking after themselves as they need to in order to be able to deal with some of these emotions and behaviours that the children
And there's no preparation for that. Like when, the baby's in your womb, there's no textbook how to deal with this, is there?
Well, parenting doesn't come with a manual, and even if it did, who's to say that all the answers would be in there?
Because not every child's the same. Everyone's
Every
different.
child is unique.
Exactly.
Every child is unique.
That's why you can't compare one child to another, which obviously within the working environment that I'm in, I see that a lot.
Yeah.
And it really upsets me because I just like to see the child in front of me, to see who they are and, you know, not go off data.
Yeah.
Why that child is the way they are, that child in front of me, I'm looking at them, I'm understanding that child in front of me, I'm not comparing them to all these other children.
Yeah, and I think that happens a lot. Children do get compared.
They do. Well, I see it every day
Yeah.
with my job. How can I instill confidence and self-belief in my child or help her realise how amazing she is?
Tell her. Be specific.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that is amazing about her? Apart from the fact that she's your daughter and you believe and know that she's amazing and good enough, tell her, be specific. Give her things that she can digest, that she can really believe, and just keep telling her. If we keep telling somebody something enough, they begin to believe it.
Yeah, words create worlds.
Worlds create worlds, Kelly. Absolutely. Yeah.
And if that child still doesn't believe those words from a parent, is there any other ways of getting them to believe positive words?
Work with your child. Role modelling.
Yeah.
Role model. And this is again coming back to parents working on themselves, feeling important enough to invest in themselves and improve their sense of well-being, their confidence, their self-esteem. Because I think a lot of parents that I've worked with, they feel like they're not doing a good enough job. They feel like they're to blame for why their child is feeling the way they are, why their child is behaving the way they are. And they've got a big stick beating themselves up 24/7. So I would like parents to be gentle with themselves and really encourage that and put the big stick away. And if you keep chipping away at, you know, telling your child how amazing they are, they will eventually believe it, but it's not going to happen overnight.
It takes time.
But role modelling as well. Role modelling that how important we are in the world, because parents are important too. But I know the parents that I've worked with and are currently working with, they don't believe that they're important.
Yeah.
They are way down the bottom of the pile of importance.
Yeah. So sad, isn't it? Because parents are superhumans, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Going on to the next question. How do I stop myself getting sucked? That's the same question. This is a really good one. And it's something that I'm quite passionate about as well, and which I struggle understanding as well, especially to do with children with SEN. So it'll be lovely to get your opinion on this question. Can food play a part on what triggers certain behaviours and emotions, not just children, but also adults as well?
Definitely. I absolutely believe that food plays a massive part in how we behave, how we function. And there was a study I read about and then watched a documentary a number of years ago, and they took a group of 20 children.
Oh, this is good.
And
Okay,
they split them into two groups of 10, and they gave them a party. With Group A, they gave them all sugary drinks, sugary foods, food with lots of additives in, and done the same activities with them. And then they took Group B and gave them more healthier food and done the same activities with them. And there was such a difference in the behaviour. Group A, who'd had a high intake of sugar, behaviour was unmanageable. They were not sharing. They were fighting over things. They were running around. Some had fatigue. Some had hyperactivity. Group B were sharing, listening, more focused. So there was a massive difference. It was all done under medical supervision as well. I need to add.
Yeah.
These kids just weren't talking to a hall and giving a load of sugar. It was done under medical supervision and parents' consent as well. But it was really interesting to see the behaviour in the two different groups of children.
Okay, so if you're, for instance, having a therapy session with a parent to try and help them implement change in their children's habits, would you try to empower to look at what they're eating? If they are struggling, if the child's struggling with their emotions, the behaviour?
Yeah. Encourage them to keep a little food diary.
Yeah.
Observe the child's behaviour when they've had certain foods. Because some children do have intolerances as well to certain foods, which can cause difference in behaviour and how they present. Yeah. So it could be as simple as pinpointing a food that may be causing a certain behaviour escalating in your child or being more evident or more present. Yeah. And just finding out, you know, what your child is like when they've had certain foods. Yeah, no, thank you. That's a good way to investigate it then, isn't it? Yeah, no, that's brilliant advice. Thank you very much for that. The next question, how do you manage the guilt you feel when you are aware your time isn't shared equally between your child with SEN and their siblings? Again, don't beat yourself up. That's not going to help you. It's not going to help your children. So put the big stick away. Remind yourself that you are doing the best you can at this time. We'll be looking at what support you can tap into so that you're able to divide your time a bit more evenly, but also how you can find some time for you. Because that sounds exhausting. Trying to divide your time and attention to all your children when one has got more needs than another. And so, cut yourself a bit of slack, put the big stick away and look at how you can get support. What will enable you to have more time with those other children. And communicate. Communicate how you feel to your children. Do you think that's important? Because a lot of parents are saying they don't want to communicate how they're feeling. What's your opinion on that, obviously to empower to parents who are listening in on this? It's that role model again. All our feelings are important. And where else do we learn to communicate our feelings? No one teaches us that. Yeah. Very often we're condemned or criticised for owning our feelings. So I encourage parents to communicate how they're feeling. That parent does feel guilty. That parent sounds like they are really struggling with that guilt. And that's okay. Yeah. It's okay to share that. I feel guilty that I'm not able to give you the time that I want to give you. Yeah. And you're being honest. You're not putting it on them. You just have an open communication. Yeah. Which I think is so important. Yeah. That's a brilliant answer. Thank you very much. I think sometimes, Kelly, we're so afraid to say how we feel for how people will hear it, how people will respond or how people will feel. And what people will think of us, what our children will think of us. Yeah. If we're, how can I say, acknowledging that we're struggling. Yeah. Well, communicating our feelings is so important, and I think it needs to be taught from a very young age within education. I completely agree. This is why I love you so much, Paula. And I could spend 12 hours a day with you and not get bored. How do I stop myself feeling like I'm failing as a parent? That makes me feel so sad. I feel sad hearing that because I do hear and experience parents giving themselves such a hard time, feeling like a failure, telling themselves they're a failure. And as I've said already in this podcast, being a parent is the hardest job in the world, and it doesn't come with a manual. Please learn to be gentle with yourself and remind yourself you are doing the best that you can right now at this time with what you know, but also have the courage to ask for support, to seek support from the right places. And yeah, just don't be afraid to say how you're feeling, and just recognise what you are doing well.
Yeah.
Too, because I think parents very good at recognising and criticising themselves for what they believe or perceive they're not doing well, but they're not really good at acknowledging what they are doing well and giving themselves some praise.
Yeah, I say to a lot of my clients, praise yourself for the small steps, just for getting out of bed in the morning and getting a shower and brushing your teeth.
Yeah, for turning up.
Yeah, for just showing up.
Yeah,
to be a parent
every day. Yeah,
because some parents choose not to show up.
Yeah. But again, that's where I think doing the work on ourselves is so important.
Yeah,
that parents get the opportunity to invest in themselves. Yeah, so that they actually celebrate what an amazing job they are doing, instead of feeling like they're a failure.
Yeah. So listening into that is going to lead on to my next question beautifully.
Okay.
So we always use the term self-care.
Yeah.
And I think we automatically assume it means things like run a bath, light candles, go and book yourself onto a spa day. What other ways can busy parents implement self-care into their everyday lives so it becomes part of their routine?
Self-care means different things to different people. So my self-care might be totally different to yours, Kelly. So it's looking at what is it am I doing for myself that nurtures me? What is it that I'm doing that is topping up my well-being bank account? And that's what I love, the well-being bank account, because we give so much of ourselves every day. And as parents, we parents have so much of a role, and the parents often are working, they're running a house, they're parenting the children, and it is a busy life for a lot of the parents that I'm working with and I've worked with. So it's looking at what can I do for me, because that bank account, that wellbeing bank account, is being drawn on every day. So what am I doing to top that wellbeing bank account up? So it'll be different for different people. It might just be going and having a 15-minute walk on your own and just breathing in some fresh air. It might just be going and meeting friends. It might be taking the dog for a walk. It might be having a long soak in the bath with a do not disturb on the door and candles. It might be reading a book. Whatever it is, it will be different for different people. But it has to be something that you acknowledge, I'm doing this for me. This is to build up my wellbeing bank account.
I love that.
That I've drawn from and other people have drawn from throughout the day.
I absolutely love that. Thank you, Paula. The next question is not from the parents now. It's obviously we've got you in a few times now for the parent support groups, and it's been amazing success. Why did you choose to work with Connect Studios?
I came along, I was invited along by yourself, and as soon as I walked through the door, I felt this amazing energy, and I just loved the environment. But after speaking with you as well, Kelly, I love your values. I love what you are doing at Connect Studios, and I love that you recognise there's such a need in the community that you work in, a need for support for parents, because parents are very overlooked.
Yeah.
And I just felt really privileged after that first experience, and I thought, I want to do more of this because we share a lot of the same values, and we both recognise there's a need. And from what I've learned, coming to Connect Studios, it's a safe place.
Yeah.
And you're a lifeline for many parents. That's been evident. So that's why I want to invest my time in Connect Studios, because I absolutely believe what you're doing is so worthwhile and so important. And I don't know of any other organisation like yourself that is doing that. There's so much more. You're looking at the whole picture, the big picture. So you see the children, the young people, but you're seeing the parents as well. They're visible to you.
Yeah.
And a lot of these parents have been invisible.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and I love that they are encouraged to engage, that they feel safe enough to engage, and that they want more, that they value it because they value you and Michael and what Connect Studios is and what it's all about.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
So true.
Thank you. So, our intention, we're doing a fundraiser, aren't we, on the 19th of May?
Yeah.
We're going up a mountain to raise money for a course that we're wanting to get you in. Could you just tell me a little bit about that course? Just to obviously, once we get the funds, and which we will, Words Create Worlds, it will happen. Just so people can understand what the course is and who it's for and how it will help them develop themselves, which will then help them support their children more.
Yeah. Well, it's a programme that over the years I've took from different programmes, courses that I've delivered, and put this one together. It's a 30-hour programme over 10 weeks, and a majority of it will be helping the parents to look at themselves, to invest in themselves, to look at their thoughts, feelings, their behaviour, how they see themselves, and help them to recognise their importance in the world and learn to communicate more around what they need as well. And it's an amazing programme, and the aim is to equip parents to parent more effectively, feel empowered within their role, but also to feel important and valued as a human being.
Yeah, so another question. If parents are feeling a little bit scared of signing up to the course, because obviously they might have to talk about their past and they might have experienced a little bit of trauma that a lot of people suppress, what words would you use to encourage them to book onto the course if they are feeling a little bit scared?
As you know, we do ground rules.
Yeah.
They are so important, even in group work, the 2-hour group sessions that we have with the parents, or any programmes delivered, we do a set of ground rules, and that creates the safety. And one of the ground rules that I will be putting in is you only share what you feel comfortable sharing. Nobody will ever feel pressured to share anything they don't feel comfortable sharing. Yeah. And so I hope that would put them at ease. So, but it's like anything. We have to build that trust between each other.
Yeah, and a safe space.
And create that safe space. And we have that at Connect Studios already. We know that. But I would be doing a 30-minute welcome session with them as well, to reassure them, put them at ease, answer any questions. And but all I can say is I guarantee they will have an amazing experience. And because I'm really passionate about this.
Yeah.
And I absolutely believe that I've got the knowledge, the skills and the tools to support them having a better experience in life as a parent and as a human being.
Yeah. And everyone that has done this course previously, has there always been a positive outcome at the end of the course?
Yeah.
Not one negative?
Yeah. People haven't wanted it to end.
Good. There we go.
Yeah. But obviously, you know, feedback is so welcome because we learn from feedback. And so it's a very experiential experience because I think that's how people learn most. And creating an accelerated learning environment. So it's not a classroom environment. It will be comfortable chairs, nice music, soft lights, nice incense, things that make learning enjoyable and, as comfortable as possible.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you for answering all of our questions and most of all, thank you for your time today.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank
Kelly.
you.
So, Kelly, I see you as a mum to so many children and I would just like to find out what you do to self-care because you give a lot of yourself within your role at Connect Studios and I know that you are in demand.
Yes.
So I would like to know what you do to look after yourself. What do you do to self-care?
What inspired me to look after myself? I say to myself, I change through desperation, sadly not through inspiration. So I hit a point where I was burnt out and I openly admitting I was mentally not in a good place. And that was due to people pleasing, not having the power to say no to people. A lot of things from my childhood through not feeling good enough, never meeting my father has a lot to do with it as well, with that feeling. So I got a mindset coach. I think it was about 3 or 4 years now. His name's called Gary. I thank him for everything. Always I thank him every day in my gratitude. So he helped me look after myself and he helped me realise putting myself first is not selfish. It's actually selfless because I'm then better for everyone I love around me. And I was going to bed feeling frustrated with myself and angry at myself because I couldn't give all those beautiful children that I adore and love what I wanted to give them because I was exhausted, mentally and physically drained. And I was just going to bed angry at myself and self-sabotaging myself even more. So it come to a point where I was at the beach on my own in the car and I was really contemplating life. It was that bad. I was thinking really, really low thoughts and no one really knew how bad it was because, again, as you were saying, I didn't communicate it with anyone and I could relate a lot to what you were saying. I was putting on that mask, but inside I was in a really low way and I was just pretending to be okay. And Gary helped me build up the strength and the courage to say no to people, which was hard and still is today. I still find it hard making strong, powerful decisions today. But once I have said no, I feel so much better after saying no. But it takes a lot of strength to get there. And I've made a lot of changes in my life. And I now have created a morning practice.
Which is beautiful.
So I don't call it a morning routine because I believe that puts pressure on you if you call it a routine. I like to call it a morning practice because I'm just practicing to become the bestest version of myself. And every day I feel like Bambi. I'm trying to walk and sometimes I get knocked back down and that's okay. So sometimes if I wake up, I might have it in my head that I'm going to do this HIIT workout and go on this long 2-hour walk, but I wake up and I check in with myself and I say to myself, how am I feeling today?
Yeah.
Because every day is different. Take each day as it comes.
Yeah.
So I check in with myself. I ask myself that question I wake up peacefully every morning. I'm very lucky with my boyfriend. And we do a little meditation together, which really gets me grounded, because sometimes I do, well, my patterns was to wake up and get on that hamster wheel straight away.
Yeah.
Get me phone, business WhatsApp, emails, nag me business partner Michael as soon as I wake up. But now I try so hard with all my heart to stay present for myself, but also for my partner as well. Because I think the biggest gift you can give to anyone is your presence.
Yeah.
So that's what I try to do every morning. After when we've done our meditation together, we go on a nice walk. So connecting to nature again without our devices. And that just really grounds me. Nature is my biggest healer. I love being around nature. I love being by the sea.
Too.
Yeah, it just makes me feel calm, and it helps me feel, this is going to sound bad for any Connect Studios parents or students listening to this, free, because I've experienced feeling trapped at that studio, and I'm just being honest. Sometimes I feel trapped.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to communicate with my staff, with my mindset coach Gary, and he helped me implement this morning practice to eliminate that feeling of feeling trapped, because it was me that was creating the trap feeling.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't giving myself that time to just stop, pause and breathe. And when I did stop, I felt guilty. I felt guilty for going on a walk. I felt guilty for going and getting a curly blow.
But you've worked on changing that.
Yeah. So then when I come back from me walk, my boyfriend starts his little day, and then I go on another walk then, but with me works phone. So I like going through all my WhatsApps and all my business emails in nature. So I'm not in a confined space. And I deal with everything more calmly on a walk in nature. Because if I'm in a small space, again, I feel trapped. So as you said before, everyone's different. What I might do to handle my emotions and struggles and triggers isn't necessarily good for you or my boyfriend or my business partner, Michael. But I hope the intention of me sharing this today might inspire people to just take little snippets from it, and that might be able to help them in some way. And then when I get back from my walk, I feel, I've been through all my messages. Then I do how I'm feeling. I either do a HIIT workout, Pilates or yoga. And then I literally just get a shower, put me nice little face on because I like my little lip and my mascara. And then I get my schedule out for the day and start my day. And everyone around me who are my close peers knows I'm not contactable until after 9:30 in the morning.
Sounds like you've got really healthy boundaries.
Yeah, that's just my time to help me feel balanced and handle my day. Because as you said, I take on a lot of people's, I don't really know how to describe it. I don't want to say problems, but I help them deal with their problems.
You give of yourself.
Yeah, if that's the correct way of putting it. So I think that's how I top up my self-care, or as you said, self-wellness bank account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, that's my answer for you, Paula. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah.